This is the Omnikey 101 by Northgate Computer Systems Inc. And this keyboard was made in Taiwan. The Omnikey 101 was made for all Northgate computers, as well as the PC, XT, AT, and PS2 computer systems, excluding specifically the PS2 Model 25, at least according to the keyboard's user guide. Back in 1992, this keyboard would cost you $89, which is approximately $172 today. I was able to snag this for the low price of $115 with shipping, and I'm extremely happy about that. It's a bit dusty, it's a bit dirty, but in this video, we're gonna give it the love it needs to shine again. So who's Northgate Computer Systems Inc.? Well, in 1987, they started as a mail-order computer company making computers and keyboards until they closed operations in 2005. But their keyboard line fared much better than their computer line because when Northgate went under, Creative Vision Technologies picked up the line of keyboards and marketed them under the Avant brand until around 2011. So they have to have pretty decent keyboards to have continued the line from 1987 all the way to 2011. I mean, in 1992, PC Magazine placed this keyboard, the Omnikey 101, as one of the editor's choice keyboards for the month of February, so it's got that going for it. I think it's a pretty good keyboard, but why is this a good keyboard? What makes it special? Well, let's start with the outside. And if beauty is only skin deep, let's start with the metaphorical skin of this keyboard. The exterior, from anterior to posterior. Starting up top on the chassis of the keyboard, we have this beautiful 101 key full-size layout up top, and we have a beautiful double-guarded pencil edge, so your pencil isn't going to be running into or away from you. As we slide through the pencil edge, we approach this ragged slip of paper detailing some commands from some word processor from times of yore. This will have to go. It's taped to the badge, and what's this? The badge has a lip, and lifting it up reveals dip switches, and it's conveniently hidden under the logo, so you can rock and roll any dip switch changes without the dance of flipping over your entire keyboard. Returning the opposite direction on the pen rail will lead us to this ramp geometry containing indicator lights for our three locks: caps, scroll, and num. Honestly, this whole section has interesting geometry we don't really see on modern boards or even modern custom boards today. Down the ramp, we have the rest of the top, which is a nicely textured plastic that covers the entire top of the keyboard. And I know you're eyeing the keycaps. We'll get to that. Let's get to underneath the keyboard first. Looking underneath the keyboard, we have this beautiful bit of bent steel that composes the bottom of the keyboard. 6 screws hold the case together, and we'll be getting those off sooner than later, trust me. Despite the keycaps being in rough condition on one side, the rubber feet and the flip-out feet on the bottom are still in amazingly great condition, and that's great. And you know what? That rear label, wonderful condition as well, which I appreciate. So many keyboards back in the day had attached cables, but not the Omnikey 101. It had a detached cable, a PS2 to 5-pin cord connector, which was included connecting to the back of the keyboard. So interestingly, there are 2 cable guides for helping cable management, but considering the fact that the included cable is a right-angled cable, you're only going to be using one of those cable guides for the most part. But hey, this steel bottom, it's a big deal. It's what contributed to the sound and feel of the Omnikey 101 that allowed it to continue production for over 20 years. Okay, let's get to these keycaps. These oh so beautiful keycaps that are responsible for so many Omnikey 101s being purchased just to be gutted and thrown away, as some people will buy this board just to grab these keycaps. I mean, double shot, Win keyless, Alps, and ASI keycaps. Wowee. And yes, the RGB modifiers are double shot as well, with the only non-double shot bits being the front printing for the print screen and pause. According to the Desk Authority wiki, the profile of these keycaps is known as UKF-DS03, which a few other boards from Datacomp shares as well. So yeah, my keycaps are filthy and they're going to need a bit of cleaning, so let's take them off so we can see the switches underneath.
So how dirty is it? Well, it's not the worst I've seen, but I wouldn't classify it as clean in any respect.
Let's get started with taking this apart and looking at the insides. We got 4 screws here holding the plate to the bottom of the board. So let's get to that. Ooh, this is actually a pretty clean looking PCB, although it does look like they soldered the screws between the PCB and the plate, so nothing's going to be coming apart very easily. But I'm actually okay with that. Interestingly enough, looks like they have actually a rubber pad here to prevent shorts between the PCB and the case. That must have been an issue they came across. This is filthy. Let's get this desoldered and cleaned up. See this right here? Bent pins. This right here? Bent pins. Bent and soldered pins. Did I say bent and soldered pins? Yeah, we got some more bent and soldered pins all over this PCB. Bent and soldered pins. This is such a pain to deal with all these bent and soldered pins, but we must persist. I've done all the non-bent and soldered pins. Now I need to do the bent and soldered pins. Wonderful. There are 18 switches in which the pins are bent and then soldered. So I gotta heat them up, unbend them, and then desolder them. This is probably one of the most annoying things when working with an old vintage board, dealing with switches that are like this. I'm just thankful that this isn't every switch. Here's what that annoyance looks like. You can see that the pin is bent and then soldered. So even if I just straight up desolder right away, I would also need to unbend the pin and get that little bit of solder between the bent pin and the pad. So let's get to it.
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I just had to be careful and get it at the right angle to just start barely lifting it up, and then I could straighten out the pin with the tool itself.
There we go. After some pain and suffering, able to desolder all the switches. Let's get ready to clean up everything and rebuild it better than ever before.
Ultrasonic cleaning time.
So long.
Don't forget a little bit of scrub-a-dub-a-dub-a-dub-a-dub-a-dub-a-dub. But Huey, what about your switches?
Blue Alps, baby.
So I decided to rebuild the Omnikey 101 with Blue Alps, because as we all know, Blue Alps are just the superior White Alps. So how did it turn out? I think it turned out beautifully. Huey, is that an Alps Dvorak set I see? Correct you are, keen viewer, correct you are. As you may have noticed on the dip sheet diagram, there's actually a dip switch to allow for native Dvorak typing straight out from the Omnikey 101. Amazingly, Northgate also produced Dvorak sculpted keycaps for the keyboard. And these are all double shot still, just like the QWERTY. They did not skip any corners, they're all the correct profiles. A+. This is an Alps rarity I am very, very happy to have. All across the board, it's been cleaned up. Not perfect, but it's much cleaner than it was before, and I'm really happy. So you may be wondering, Huey, but what does it sound like? Does it still have the clicks and the clacks? Well, why don't you take a listen?
Well, here it is. It's done, and I've been using it for a pretty cool minute, and I still love it. In fact, I love it even more than when it was stock. It's still the full-sized, clicky Alps that we all know and love. You got a quality chassis, quality switches, quality keycaps. It really makes for an experience I'd call quality. And hey, I know clicky switches aren't for everyone. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but I think there's always a time and a place for them, and if you have time and a place for an Omnikey 101 on your desk, well, it's a perfect keyboard to have. It feels like it's been frozen in time, a keyboard that is decades old, yet still persisting through modernity. If you like clicky switches, why not? Blue Alps, white Alps, it's gonna be a fun time. Well, this is my Omnikey 101. Thank you everyone so much for watching and checking this out with me. I'll catch you in the next video. And don't forget, keep on keyboarding.